The chapter starts when Luffy takes the Den Den Mushi and broadcast the call all over the Egghead. Luffy announced his name and said that he is the man who become the Pirate King. And the other Straw Hats was shocked on what Luffy did. And Luffy announced that they have alliance with Dr. Vegapunk. And threatens the Navy to withdraw their fleet around the Egghead, if they want to ensure York's safety. And York was shocked and begged to save her. And Admiral Kizaru and the other Navy was shocked on Luffy's announcement. The other navies can't believe how evil the Straw Hats really is. And Big News Morgan, who was listening too, was surprised what's going on inside the Egghead. Even Princess Vivi and King Wapol was shocked on what they heard. The Gorosei talks to Luffy, and asking how many they are right now inside the Frontier Dome. And Luffy almost slips the information on them. And Robin takes the snail phone on Luffy and hangs it up. And St. Jew Peter heard a woman's voice and he thinks that it was Nico Robin. Robin said to Luffy that talking on them is not a good idea. That they will have a clue on what's their situation right now. Luffy apologized on Robin. And still thinks on what he does to threaten the Navy is a good idea. And Usopp scolded Luffy and said that it's impossible, that the Navy will comply on Luffy's demands on them. Saturn's calls on and explained that they have to protect three things only. York's safety, the punk records that constitute Vegapunk's brain, and lastly the power plant needed to produce the mother flame. And the others is not important. Vice Admiral Doberman reminds Saint Saturn that Rob Lucci and the other agents is still inside the Egghead. And Saturn's replied to the Vice Admiral that he is just considering the worst case scenario. And prioritized the important factors. And Saturn compares the humans' lives to insects. Even though their numbers reduce, they still can multiply again. And the Vice Admiral Doberman follows the Gorosei's order. While inside the Frontier Dome, York still crying and said she made a deal to the Elder Stars, so they can't hurt her. Or the Navy will eradicate them. Just like what they did on Ohara. Nami was furious on York and she hit York using her clam attack. York said that Elder Planets will know what they did on her. Nami's still annoyed on York complains, but Nico Robin calms her down. And said that she's not threat right now so she can't do anything. And Chopper asked Robin if she feels better now. And Chopper was embarrassed after Robin thanked her. And the Straw Hats crew along with Vegapunk and his satellites and the CP0 are together in the same room. Luffy and Jewelry Bonnie is eating together. And Lilith was crying after she knows that Shaka and Pythagoras is dead. Even Kaku is injured after he fight two Seraphims. Rob Lucci is reporting the situation to the Navy. But Kaku notice him and ask on what he's been whispering. Lucci reply and said it's nothing, I'm just talking to myself. Usopp calls on the underground basement and check the CP0 agent situation. And the CP0 agents that held captive by York is happy right now. Because they have food to eat. And they thanks the Straw Hats for the food that they give. The other agents ask them to let them free. But Usopp denies them. And the others request to move their location. Because the Seraphims is with them. And Usopp asks Vegapunk if the Seraphims is safe right now. Vegapunk reply. Of course, because they are inside the bubble. Vegapunk explains that the bubble where the Seraphims right now is bomb blast resistant. And it's made from the Sea Prism Stone, so the Seraphim's power is not a problem. S-Hawk was angry because they imprisoned them inside the bubble. While S-Bear and S-Shark has no reaction where they are. S-Snake on the other hand say that they didn't need to worry. Because no one gives them an order to attack. And the CP0 agents was relieved when they hear that the Seraphims won't attack them. Frankie is grateful on S-Snake after she removes the petrification on them. Vegapunk is confused on S-Snake's action. When Luffy asks S-Snake to undo the petrification on his friends. S-Snake was embarrassed on Luffy, because Luffy stares at her eyes directly. And S-Snake removes the petrification on them. Jinbei was laughing because S-Snake is like a perfect copy of Boa Hancock. Because of her behaviors in front of Luffy. It's funny to know that the Seraphims based on Hancock has the same emotions towards Luffy. Added by Jinbei. And Vegapunk was amazed on that information that Jinbei said. Thank you again Hancock. Said by Luffy on S-Snake. And S-Snake was embarrassed again on Luffy, even Luffy is only on the monitor. S-Snake reaction is really like Hancock's reaction every time Luffy calls her name. Atlas is now okay after what happened on her. And she informs the Stella that the system is currently working again. But they still have a problem. Because the Frontier Dome won't open. It's useless. I locked everything with a password. And I didn't share that information on you. Said by York on them. Lilith starts to annoyed on York. York is continuously laughing and said that the password and world government is like a armor that protect her. Stussy reminds Vegapunk that the fleet outside of the Egghead is compressed with 100 battleships with 30,000 marines. And Vegapunk said that they are in a bad situation right now. While Sanji is happy and asks Stussy if she wants some coffee. And Vegapunk confirms to Nami if she was the navigator of the Straw Hats. And Nami answered him with confidence. Nami looks at her log pose. But the log pose didn't give a new directions. But the earlier record from Wano is pointing to the northeast. Said by Nami on Vegapunk. The direction that it's pointing is where the Elbaph is. Reply by Vegapunk. Luffy and Usopp was shocked when they heard the word Elbaph. And they feels excitement to go there. Because the Elbaph is the land of the giants. And it's like a dream come true, said by Luffy and Usopp. Stussy noticed that Lucci is staring at her and she asked Lucci to stop doing that. And Vegapunk starts to explain their situation right now. They need to go to the Labo Stratum where the Straw Hat ship right now. And use the Vegaforce to escape to the northeast of the island. So the fleets that surrounded the island can't follow them. I hope that it could carry us all through to the marine blockade. Because the Vegaforce can only fly within the airfield of the Egghead. And it will starts to fall when it leaves to the airfield of the island. Said by Vegapunk. Frankie assures them that Thousand Sunny will take over before it completely leaves to the airfield of the island. Frankie also added that no one can chase them if they fly 1 kilometers away. And Vegapunk was amazed when he heard that the Thousand Sunny could fly a whole kilometers. And Vegapunk agrees on Frankie's plan. And Frankie said to Vegapunk that Sunny is powered by cola. And Vegapunk was shocked. And Atlas praised their plan. But still reminds them that they need to disable the barrier before they can escape. You'll never get the password on me. Added by York. And Vegapunk reply. In that case we will need to hack it. Don't underestimate the great Vegapunk. And Vegapunk starts to hack the system with the help of York and Edison. Vegapunk leaves the command of Vegaforce on Lilith. Let's move the ship to the other side of Labo phase. We need to hurry. The barrier might open anytime now. Said by Lilith on Luffy, Frankie and Bonnie. Bonnie asked Lilith if they removed the barrier they'll vulnerable on enemies' attack. Exactly answered by Lilith. Lilith was happy and excited that finally she can leave the island for the first time. We're not going to a picnic. Reply by Frankie. I'll definitely going to miss the food here. Added by Luffy. And Jewelry Bonnie agrees on Luffy and she plans to take pizza before they go. Luffy said that they have a cheese inside their ship. And Sanji can make some for them. Bonnie praised Sanji because he's not just a talented cook but strong at fighting too. Luffy asked Bonnie why she's in a good mood all of a sudden. I feel much better now. And she doesn't want to kill Vegapunk. Said by Bonnie on Luffy. Good, we won't be annoyed by your crying anymore like last night. And Bonnie was embarrassed. The Navy fleets is in a hurry after Rob Lucci made a contact to them. Rob Lucci gives all the information and the situation inside the Egghead. And the Navy is preparing right now. Saturn talks to Kizaru. Straw Hat is talking arrogantly to deceive us. In believing that he has control over the whole situation. But it doesn't change the fact that they are cornered like rats. Reply by Admiral Kizaru. Saturn asked Kizaru if he can go through the Frontier Dome because its defense system is utilized by lasers. Because he's a lightman. Added by Saturn. And Kizaru reply. That might be possible but the one Vegapunk stationed to guard the dome is a friend of mine. Kizaru talks about Sentomaru. Well, you'll just need to ignore him. Said by the Gorosei on Kizaru. But the Admiral reply, that he can't ignore a man that determined to fulfill his duty. Because it's against his convictions. And Kizaru added that if they attack now, Sentomaru will surely orders the weaponized sea beast and the pacifista to attack and sinks their ships. And their casualties would be enormous. And Saturn was irritated because their situations is getting more complicated. And Saturn's ask where the power plant's location is. Kizaru reply. Rob Lucci gives all the information they need and he praised Lucci in his performance. The Navy is preparing on attack to Egghead. We can see the 4 vice admirals preparing their units. Tells the Rokushiki users to stand by. Free those CP0 agents on those pirates. Aim from the weaponized sea beast weapons. And the scene is back inside the Egghead. Luffy and the others finally reach the Labo phase. Luffy is laughing while bouncing on the ground that made in clouds. Even Frankie is excited too. but he still reminds Luffy that don't forget their goal. And Jewelry Bonnie informs the Frontier Dome that they reach the Sunny and Vega Force. Admiral Kizaru use Yata no Kagami to travel through the Egghead. Kizaru's travels so fast. And Sentomaru is prepared to fight the Admiral. Sentomaru was smiling even though he knows that Kizaru is coming for him. "Let's go at it then." Ojiki, said by Sentomaru. And he orders all the pacifista units to obliterate all the enemies. "Prepares yourself, Sentomaru," Kizaru said on Sentomaru. Sentomaru is confident because his defense is the toughest in the world. And Kizaru reached Sentomaru and unleashed his light speed kick. Sentomaru able to block the light speed kick by the Admiral. Meanwhile at the Labo Stratum. "What's that? There's light coming from below," and Luffy was shocked. And said that someone very strong is coming. And the siege on Egghead finally starts now.